Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Dave Percy, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. On the Alaska river breakup map here for April 27th, today, not a lot of changes, still some open areas here along the Tanana River right through here to about Nenana, and this shade, that's some open. There is a stretch of mostly open here, there as well. And basically the entire breakup process has slowed here over the last few days due to the cooler temperatures that have moved into the area, especially back here in the west and southwest part of the state, as well as on up, of course, to the north. Moving on to satellite imagery, we've got another surge of moisture moving east and northeast, moving a little better to the east here than it is pushing up to the north, kind of stalled out in this area up through here, and another front driving eastward with gale force winds and rain here pushing across the Aleutian chain today right into Fox Islands, and that's spreading into the Alaska Peninsula with the main rain producing moisture of the clouds right about through here on back, and this mostly just cloudiness here. And this area of rain exiting Kodiak Island today, a few lingering showers behind, nothing much at all. But you can see it breaking out behind the front there with some scattered shower activity developing around Adak as the winds turned westerly there, and the south-southeast gale force winds out in advance of the front, and that's spreading gusty winds, rain, and snow up to the Pribilof Islands this afternoon. Otherwise, across the eastern interior, pretty good conditions. You can see from Northway on up across the Tanana Valley, Fairbanks, looks like areas of sunshine here, right on up to the Brooks Range. Patch of moisture there, bringing some light snow, a few skiffs of snow to the eastern Arctic coast there, especially over toward Kaktovik and Barter Island. And then this cloudiness dissipating, mostly mid and high level clouds here over the northern panhandle. Moisture from yesterday and last night pretty much has ended, shifted off into Canada there as that whole pattern weakens. On the chart today, this actually a couple of troughs, this one here in the southern portion, this one back up in the north, kind of breaking apart here with this one pushing eastward. This one more or less almost quasi-stationary up there in the north. So that brought areas of snow, southern slopes of the western Brooks Range there, possibly the Noatak Valley back to the northwest coast. And a little bit of a break, clouds, and then another widespread area of light precipitation here across, well, from Seward Peninsula all the way down into south central Alaska. And precipitation amounts anywhere from 1 to 3/10 of an inch here in the heaviest reported areas, like about 1500s, for example, at Sparrowvon falling. Otherwise, less than that, just a few hundredths of an inch, but kind of a widespread area of rather wetting rains. And some of that falling is snow. Bethel picked up 2 inches of snow last night with that. And Caltech had about 3/10 of an inch of precipitation in the 12-hour period, or actually since midnight last night. And that mostly fell in the form of snow, although mixing with rain here over much of the area as the temperatures warm into the afternoon. Otherwise, again, the clouds over the northern panhandle dissipating slowly, the wind and rain, gale force winds ahead of this front. In fact, all the way to the Alaska Peninsula, gale warnings were out today, including Kodiak Island there as this trough passed by with winds gusting up to about 50 miles an hour. And for tonight, that system continues eastward. The slow center moves to just southwest of Nunivak Island. Front pushing rain and snow into the southwest interior, eastward across the Kuskokwim Valley to the Alaska Range toward morning, and rainfall chances increase late tonight for Kodiak Island as that front pushes eastward with showers behind the front and west winds pretty gusty there. Could be close to gale force out of the west, but those will be diminishing along with the showers later tonight, and a break moving into the western and central Aleutians. We can see the next system here right on the edge of the chart. Otherwise, the first batch of moisture here slowly moving eastward. That'll increase the shower chances along the north coast of the Panhandle tonight. Keep the North Gulf Coast a little unsettled, Prince William Sound, and again, snow showers back up to the north there to the northwest valleys. And then for tomorrow, that low tracks inland, weakens, not really that strong at all, with 1,003 millibar center. Front pushes more moisture, another round of rain coming into south central Alaska. Southeast winds, they get a little breezy, but not as strong as what we saw a couple days ago. And then for the Prince William Sound, rain increasing throughout the day, spreading eastward here, mixture, higher elevations there, and then cutting off along the Alaska Range. So all the moisture will be south of the mountains there, but also back to the northwest here with snow showers up over the Kobuk Valley, Noatak Valley areas down into the Nulato Hills, maybe the southern slopes of the Brooks Range there, possibly a snow shower possible there for the Bettles area in the northern Koyukuk Valley. Looking good there on the north slope. Tanana Valley, partly to mostly sunny. Dry conditions tomorrow as well as 40-mile country. Chance of showers along the coast of the Panhandle. That's about it. Otherwise, just mostly cloudy day. A little more sunshine down to the south. Next system pushing another round of gale force winds and rain here into the central Aleutians for Saturday. We'll see on Sunday. That system drives northeastward here pretty good. 975 millibar low moves to just south of St. Lawrence Island with strong southwest winds, even behind the front here. Looks like good gales coming in. That'll keep it showery and windy for the southwest coast. Very wet, windy day coming up for the southwest interior. All shifting eastward throughout the day into south central Alaska. Yet another round of rain coming through. And North Gulf Coast stays wet with the remnants of this moisture right through here. But becomes quite weak off the Panhandle. Again, northern southeast coast, chance of showers. Central and southern areas, increasing sun as you go down there with, of course, warmer temperatures and a band of moisture keeping some rain and snow northeastward across the Koyukuk Valley into the northern Yukon Flats. The southern slopes of the Brooks Range, snow showers back to the west. Lots of wind and showers for the Aleutians or just to the north of the Aleutians through the day Sunday. Temperatures, lows for tonight, Saturday morning actually. 10 to 15 for the Arctic coast and the central and eastern north slope. Otherwise, more toward 20, say toward Point Lay, to mid to upper 20s for the northwest coast and the Noatak Valley areas. Lower 30s here, say from Ambler in the Kobuk Valley on down to Nikolai and McGrath. 32, the forecast low for Sparrowvon. Otherwise, the 30 to 35 degree range on out toward the coast. 32 from Koryak, 28 for Savunga, and upper 30s for the Aleutians to near 40 here for the Alaska Peninsula, back into the mid-30s for the Bristol Bay Zone, lower to mid-30s along the coast, Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and it looks like the southeast coast, upper 30s to maybe lower 40s. Highs for tomorrow afternoon, upper 50s there over the southern Panhandle. Some areas again maybe pushing 60 degrees for the high. Upper 40s here for the North Gulf Coast around Yakutat. Otherwise mid 40s back toward Cordova, Prince William Sound. Susitna Valley 45 to 50. Madanuska Valley about the same. And near 50 for the Tanana Valley and the upper Yukon. A little cooler, but lower 40s here over the southwest interior areas to right around freezing for the highs for the Seward Peninsula, especially toward the Bering Strait. 30s for the Brooks Range and 20s mid to upper for the Arctic coast. And then taking a look at the lows forecast for Sunday morning, maybe a shade cooler here for the central and eastern Arctic coast, still in the 10 to 15 degree range there. A little cooler back toward Point Lay, but still lower to mid 20s here in the northwest. And then 30s all the way up 31 there to about Galena, that's Caltag 31. 25 Nome, 27 over at Savunga, and it looks like mid to upper 30s here over the southwest with the upper 30s down toward over Bristol Bay, near 40 for Kodiak, upper 30s Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians, and again not much change here, upper 30s to lower 40s for the lows for the southeast coast, about like what you'll see tomorrow, and maybe a little below freezing, some areas dropping in the upper 20s here, especially from the North Waitok area up toward Eagle. Otherwise in the lower to mid 30s for the Tanana Valley. And the afternoon highs shaping up like this for Sunday afternoon. Lower 50s again, upper 40s to lower, maybe mid 50s for the Tanana Valley here in the eastern interior, and close to 50 once again for the Madanuska-Susitna Valley, portions of the Kenai Peninsula, possibly Anchorage, and the Brooks Range northward, mostly in the 20s to near 20 at the Arctic coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather for tomorrow. First graphic here showing a lot of IFR in over the southwest interior, all the way over to near and past the western Alaska Range here. Southern slopes, central Alaska Range, some IFR. Also up here over the North Gulf Coast, mostly in the Coast Range, otherwise marginal there. IFR, North Slope Arctic Coast, a lot of marginal VFR Bering Sea. another band of IFR there just lifting north of the western Aleutians, but kind of lingering across Atka, which will expand considerably by afternoon here. Much larger area IFR now out over the southwest Bering and the Aleutians, and some now mostly off the coast, if not completely off the coast, except for Cape Newenham there, Togiak Bay maybe. IFR, Fognak Island, eastern slopes of the Alaska Range all the way up toward Windy Pass, but south of Windy Pass, western Prince William Sound, and IFR just touching the central Arctic coast. Southeast Panhandle here looking pretty good. Some marginal VFR maybe lingering in the north. And for Sunday morning, lots of IFR in store for the Arctic coast and north slopes, especially out to the west. Seward Peninsula looks kind of IFR-ish. And then also southern slopes of the Brooks Range will be lower, but on the lee side of the mountains there may be some VFR breaking out over the eastern north slope. 40 Mile Country, Tanana Valley looking pretty good here. VFR with the IFR hung up south side of the mountains, and North Gulf Coast some IFR, and out over the Bering Sea quite a swath again here, shifting northeastward, reaching Nunivak Island, and then by the afternoon that whole mess moves inland. And we've got a lot of IFR here coming into the Cook Inlet area, Kodiak Island, areas of all the way back to the southwest coast, improving now over the Bering Sea, seeing some pretty good VFR breaking out there, and the Aleutians as well, Adak and Atka, maybe the Fox Islands, IFR up there along the North Slope and Arctic coast for Sunday afternoon. And the Panhandle, marginal VFR up in the north, central southern areas looking pretty good there with VFR, except right along the coast, some marginal VFR persisting in those locations. Passes Anatuvik, both Anatuvik and Adigan look for a deterioration in conditions throughout the day, lowering ceilings visibilities. So that's really what the VFR to IFR represents. Actually, Adigan just go marginal. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR, eastern approaches, otherwise marginal VFR. And for Rainy, same sort of pattern, lowest conditions on the eastern entrance. IFR, that would be the lowest flying conditions there, otherwise marginal. And for Windy, south side here, southern entrance, marginal VFR gradually trending toward IFR, and the pass itself, VFR, trending toward marginal VFR throughout the day. And for Isabel, marginal VFR becoming IFR. And taking a look at Mentesta, occasionally marginal, about sums it up for that pass. Tanina, marginal VFR early on, becoming VFR into and through the afternoon. Portage, IFR eastern entrance, otherwise marginal. And Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR to start with, becoming VFR, hopefully in the afternoon. And for the freezing levels, gradient now shifting almost out east of the southeast coast there, though still got 2,000 to 4,000 feet there across the Stewart Hyder area on down toward Metlakatla, but really pretty flat now thermal gradient wise here with at the surface along the North Gulf Coast. Couple of 2,000 foot pockets here up over the north central interior Yukon Flats, Koyukuk Valley, and then up there along the western central Arctic coast. 2,000 to 4,000 feet here, mostly near and south of Kodiak Island. We see a bulge northward of this warm air mass out here over the central Bering Sea. 8,000 to 10,000 feet tomorrow morning. Actually in the afternoon, 10,000 feet does push up over the central Aleutian areas. And for icing, looking like this, areas of considerable moderate rime icing there, pushing eastward here across the southwest Bering and the Aleutians. And a pretty good chance of seeing some type of icing here over southern Alaska, narrowing out, but a band extending northward there to the southern slopes of the western central Brooks Range. And the jet stream looking like this, westerly flow up to 130 knots coming right across Alaska, but diminishing here. One branch 120 knots across the Alaska Peninsula. And at 9,000 feet, we've got west-southwest winds at about 20 to 25 knots here coming into the southwest coast. Much the same pattern at 3,000 feet. Turbulence-wise, occasional moderate chop there, Aleutian Range, southwest interior. Alaska Peninsula, all of the Aleutians looks good for moderate chop, and light to isolated moderate here over southern Alaska. The southeast coast, some northwest winds there. Prince of Wales Island could get a little bumpy, and then some light to isolated moderate stuff all the way north into the western Arctic coast.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with the National Weather Service, and joining us today, two more people to talk about the augmented reality sandbox. It's Alana Valaji. She's a University of Alaska Fairbanks mechanical engineering student, helped design and work on the details to make this new type of sandbox there. Thanks for joining us, Alana. Thanks. And Courtney Breest, she's the outreach coordinator for AKwx, which is the experimental program to stimulate competitive research. It's a program funded nationally by the National Science Foundation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Alana, tell us about how you changed and adapted this version of the augmented reality sandbox. It's a really cool tool.
So Gina approached us with 3 goals for this new version of the sandbox. They wanted it to be compact in a light system that could travel around the state. They wanted it to be child-oriented, so we designed the sandbox to have 3 different levels.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. You can have younger children, you can have high school kids. I guess I should say high school teenagers.
Sure.
And then we also designed it to be more marketable, user-friendly, so that this could be seen eventually in classrooms all over the place, all over the state.
Okay. And you had a big hand in this, but this was a team approach, right?
Definitely. It was a really good experience for myself, for George Stevens, who we'll see later.
One of our hand models today. Yeah.
For 2 other members who aren't here today, Cody Klingman and Austin Hunt. And it was just a really good learning experience all around.
Very good. And this is something that is part of your learning experience as well, so you get to check a box in your education.
Yeah,
right?
it's a requirement for seniors of mechanical engineering at University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Very good. Very good. Well, it is a wonderfully inquisitive tool, fun to play with, and I hope to get my hands in the sand here in just a little bit. But it's also part of a bigger program, something that we were talking about a moment ago, AKwx, and that's what Courtney is here to tell us more about. What is AKwx and why do you need a sandbox?
Well, AKwx, as you mentioned, is a national program. We're funded nationally, but we're actually located statewide. We're at UAF, we're at UAA, we're in Southeast at UAS. And she mentioned, you know, taking the sandbox as an educational tool, and that's where I'm an outreach coordinator for the South Central test case.
Okay.
Our focus is on the Kenai watershed, and we are really interested in using these tools like the sandbox to interact with the students down there and get them interested in STEM and also communicate the research findings that we've been having throughout the state.
Okay. And one of those, as George and Eric are kind of changing the contours for us there from UAF to maybe something that resembles a little bit of something more of the Kenai watershed, which is one of your focuses for the study, right? And specifically looking at some of the changes there and how that impacts people and also the salmon.
Yes, it is all of our research is social and environmental.
Okay.
So we have social scientists working hand in hand with our environmental scientists. One of the things we're studying is Upper Russian Lake, and we have a researcher taking sediment cores from that lake. So one of the things we're going to use the sandbox to communicate is how the landscape changed over a long period of time, thousands of years, going from glacier, covered by glacier ice, to being filled with water. And then
that's what they're doing right now.
Exactly. So
live.
So they're moving
cool.
the water around. And then I think they've got some props over there, because we're also going to go a little bit more in depth and explain how the salmon got there.
Okay.
So using
and there's
these,
the salmon.
Exactly. Oh, I think there's a few more.
Yeah, we like more salmon in Alaska. More salmon.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really taking the findings from our research grant and just trying to connect with the community and translate it in a really hands-on and exciting way, so people can, you know, interact with us as much as possible.
Well, sure. That makes the learning and the science real and quite literally in your face, rather than just some boring black and white paper that you have to read about. This is something that people can understand better because it's visual and they're touching and feeling and seeing these changes, right?
Yeah, and get them engaged. And then outreach is a huge component, and working with the younger students, and actually even, I mean, working with the UAF graduate and engineering students it's a huge part of our grant, and we really enjoy it.
Oh, it is wonderfully exciting. And so, Alana, you were telling us that this is built to travel.
Right.
And this is built to do more things than version 1. Where can this type of project go in Alaska? And what can it demonstrate?
I mean, we were hoping to eventually get to villages that were harder to reach, that you couldn't necessarily move a whole fixed instrument to, right? You need something that can pack up, fit in your truck bed. I mean, one of the most attractive parts of this project is that this was going to be something that was used past our graduation point. You know, this is
Okay.
going to be something that lives in the state for years.
Right, right. Well, it looks like you're well on your way with that. So what are, give me another example. What else can this show us? We've talked about the Kenai River watershed. What's the coolest thing that you've played in the sand with? What's your idea?
Well, I definitely enjoy the props, but we also like kind of building up a giant mound, and if you put some water behind it, you can make a little runway, I guess, and
Okay.
you know, demonstrate the effects of the hydrology by just putting up a dam and letting it all pour right down.
Okay.
And so that could, I think you mentioned it earlier, you could even demonstrate the effects of a tsunami
Right.
or something along those lines.
So it's not just topography, but it's also hydrology
Yes.
and coastal surge mapping and some of the coastal changes that we're seeing here in Alaska, and seeing what the smaller changes in the sandbox might do to kind of a real effect of a slosh or a push of water up on the coast. Tsunami inundation mapping, or even glacial dam release, as some has been demonstrated before.
Yep.
So wow, that's just an impressive thing. That it seems like the possibilities are nearly endless with this, and probably even more ideas that are popping up in your head too.
Yeah, as we speak.
Very cool. All right. Well, if folks want to get more information about EPSCOR, you guys are online. You're on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. AKEPSCOR, right? EPSCOR, Alaska EPSCOR, that is. And again, you guys are funded by the National Science Foundation,
Yes,
so
sir.
more to come from that, and a longer-term study there. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. Congratulations on your hard work there. This is really fun. And for now, I'm meteorologist Dave Snider with this edition of Alaska Weather Facts, and I'm going to go play in the sandbox there. We'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Excuse me, looking at the coastal forecast here. West winds at 15 on the central coast, lighter southwest breeze at 10 there farther to the north. And the south coast here, northwest up to 20 knots, and those seas 9 feet. So small craft advisories there tomorrow, northwest 20 for Clarence Strait with 4-foot seas. Turning south at about 15, Stevens Passage, northern Lynn Canal, probably all Lynn Canal, south 20 with 4-foot seas. And then the outlook for Sunday, small craft advisories here, 25 knot southerlies there for Lynn Canal, 5-foot seas. Light southerlies at 10 for Stevens Passage, northwest 20 Clarence Strait. South coast here, west 15, 8-foot seas. South 15 on the north coast with 8-foot seas. So small craft advisories along the entire coastline for Sunday. And for the Prince William Sound zone, southeast 20 with 3-foot seas. Southeast 10 for the northern Cook Inlet zone. Seas not too bad, 2 feet. 20 knots so south of the Forelands with 5-foot seas. Small craft advisories Kachemak Bay, as well as the Barren Islands for 25 knot winds. And then for the Sunday outlook, easterlies at 20 knots for Prince William Sound with 4-foot seas. Southeast 20 and 7 there for the eastern North Gulf Coast, western North Gulf Coast, south at 15, 7-foot seas, picking up to 20 knots for the Barren Islands. And we've got 25 knot winds here, excuse me, for Kachemak Bay with 10-foot seas, and south 25 knots, south of the Forelands there for Cook Inlet, and seas up to 9 feet. Out Bristol Bay Way, we've got southwest winds at 20 knots in the forecast with 7-foot seas. Small craft advisories here. Southwest 25 to 30 for the Alaska Peninsula, and we've got 30-knot winds all the way up from Cape Sarachev there to Sitkinak, and then up the eastern marine zones here of Kodiak, while Shelikof Strait's looking south at 25. Outlook for Sunday, good 30-knot southwest wind here blowing right along the Alaska Peninsula, 12 to 14-foot seas. South winds 30 knots, almost a gale, but not quite there for Bristol Bay, 9-foot seas, and southwest 25 from Castle Cape to Sitkinak, and then again south 25 up the east side of Kodiak Island. Shelikof Strait lighter with slider seas, 20 knots and 4 feet. Eastern Aleutians, west-southwest 25 to 30 knots there with seas 12 to 14 feet. Now we've got minimum gales at times here, mainly on the Pacific side of the central Aleutians from the south, and on out to about Amchitka Island, Amchitka westward. They fall down to about 20 knots out of the west with 11-foot seas. And then for Sunday, gales back into the far western Aleutians there, 35 knots from the southwest. Small craft advisories everywhere else here. Winds becoming more westerly the farther east you get to west here for the eastern Aleutians, 30 knots with seas as high as 15 feet. Southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, southwest 20 into Kuskokwim Bay, 25-knot westerlies for the Pribilofs, north 15 St. Lawrence Island. And those will pick up pretty good there for Sunday, 30 knots out of the northeast, while the southwest coast here looking at a full gale with that big storm coming in. Southwest gales, south to southwest 40 knots, southwest 40 for the Pribilofs. So seas up to 23 feet there, northeast 25 St. Matthew Island. And for the eastern, or all of the Arctic coast tomorrow, east 20 knots, and from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, east 15, and then lighter, more variable at about 10 knots there on down to the Bering Strait. And then for Sunday, north 15 knots here from Wales up to Cape Thompson, and then easterly winds 20 knots for the western and central coast. Brisk wind advisories now for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, again for Sunday. And for tonight, again, we've got this system driving eastward, wind and rain here and snow into the southwest interior again, Bristol Bay, down to the Alaska Peninsula, approaching Kodiak Island, coming across Kuskokwim Valley there, especially in the south. Snow showers along that trough all the way to the northwest areas, and mostly dry here over the eastern interior. And then for tomorrow, that front pushes more rain again across south central Alaska for the day, and again, precipitation type depending on your elevation, latitude, and time of day. With the next system pushing eastward there, we'll bring those good gale force winds into the southwest coast on Sunday, with lots of rain and snow pushing in across southern Alaska once again, as well as across the northern interior areas, with the southern southeast coast looking pretty good for mostly sunny skies there. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.